Hello, today's Bible study comes from Luke chapter 22, verses 39 through 46, and it reads as follows. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation." So, Jesus has just left a situation, and he went to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. And on reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." So Jesus went out with his disciples again, and he was teaching them again. And remember, he was just at the table at the Last Supper speaking in regards to one of them betraying him. So when he gets to the Mount of Olives, and this is something he had been doing, and we'll address this in a minute, and he took his disciples and followed him, and on reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." Because you already have is fallen into temptation. So you need to pray. You need to get some strength that you don't fall into it again. And this was a warning prayer. This wasn't just a prayer to say pray. He was warning them. Pray that you don't fall back into this again. You need to be strong. And remember, this was Jesus' regular routine. If you look back at Luke 21 and 37, during the day he was teaching in the temple, and at night he went and stayed at the mountain and he prayed. And he wasn't going to change his routine. And if you ask me, I just think he was making it clear, "Judas, you can find me. I am not changing up my ways because you sold me out." But I didn't see it in the Bible. That's just my thoughts. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." Jesus didn't want him to go into anything. He was really just telling them, pray that you don't give into temptations. Pray that you don't succumb to evil. Pray that evil does not take you over. Pray that evil does not lead you. Then he knelt down and prayed. Now, he withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them and knelt down and prayed. And normally, this was when they stood up and prayed, but Jesus knelt down and prayed. And he says, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." Now, if you remember the cup was a cup of wrath and judgment if you look back in the Old Testament. And that's probably why Jesus used the cup, because he could have done some things. He could have called down angels. He could have ended this whole thing. But it was his Father's will that he was following. And if you read Psalm 75:8, it says, "For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red, it is fully mixed, and he pours it out. Surely its dregs shall all the wicked of the earth drain and drink down." You can look at Isaiah 51:17. You can look at Jeremiah 25:15. But this cup did not represent death. It only was representing judgment here. Don't let it be my judgment, but let it be yours be done. Jesus was submitting to his Father. So an angel from heaven appeared to him, and the angel strengthened him. And if you notice, when Jesus went to pray, his spirit needed strengthening. So an angel came and strengthened him. Like an angel can come and strengthen us. When you don't know what words to say, and the Lord puts them in your mouth and in your heart, and he protects you. And being in anguish, he was in pain. He was tired. He was hurting. He prayed more earnestly. He prayed harder. And if you want to know how he prayed, it says, and his sweat from praying was like drops of blood falling to the ground. You know, we get a heavy sweat, it's a little smear, might be a little liquid, but when you see your blood is thick. It's very visible. And Jesus was praying, and his sweat looked like blood falling to the ground. It was that thick. It was that much. He was at work. Jesus was given into his Father, and Jesus did it willingly, doing the Lord's will. Woo! But remember, the Father did not take the cup from Jesus. When Jesus was saying that, he didn't take the cup away. When he said, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. The Father didn't take it away. This time, it was a no. And the Lord can say no. And when Jesus was praying, the Father did not take the cup from Jesus. But what he did do is he strengthened Jesus by his messenger, the angel, to be able to hold this cup and drink the cup. If you look at Luke 42 or Luke 22, 43 and 44, that an angel appeared to him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Then his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. Ooh. Jesus was putting it in, and the Lord said, you got the cup, son. You know, you wonder if the Lord would have said yes, what would have happened? Being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. In his agony, Jesus prayed more earnestly to the point where he was doing this blood. His perspiration was just that much. So when he rose up from his prayer and had come to his disciples, he found them sleeping from sorrow. Then he said to them, why do you sleep? Rise up, rise and pray, lest you enter temptation. See, this praying that he's telling them to do is for protection. It's a warning prayer of protection. And instead of praying, they went to sleep. But Jesus woke them and encouraged them to pray because he knew what they really needed. So he says, rise and pray lest you enter into temptation. Now, they were the followers of Jesus, and Jesus was about to go, and now the test is going to start happening. The trials and tribulations are going to happen. And some have occurred already. And these are going to be things that they can't imagine. So Jesus said, for your own sake and your own good, pray. Because right now you failed. Not only did you fail me, but you are failing yourself. So get up and pray so that you will not fail or fall into temptation. This prayer was a warning and it was protection that they needed. And the warning was to get the protection. And the way you got the protection was to pray. And when Jesus went to pray, he had some things to tell the Lord. He asked the Lord some things, but he needed spiritual strengthening, and he was granted that. When you need spiritual strengthening, you need to go pray. We need to go pray. And always know that when you pray, it's the Lord's will that will be done. Amen.